Are we live? Are we live? Screen is blank for some reason. Oh no, there we go. Good. Hi everyone, happy Friday. Glad you all could make it for the stream. Thank you so much to the early crew. I don't know what's currently going on with Streamlabs. It seems to be replaying all of my previous chat donations from other streams, and I don't even know why that's happening. I don't like. Okay, we're just like, okay. You get to have these all replay again for some reason. I was like, maybe. I mean, I definitely remember seeing these on screen in other streams. Like, hello, if chat was over, would you still like us? Like, classic super chat, obviously. So, enjoy that, I guess. I may just, oh, there, it goes away. So, we'll see if it ends up popping up with another, oh no, there we go. I don't know if is that a new one, or is that, doesn't look like that's a current one. That's just from some other random time. I don't know if I've gotten any, doesn't say I have any super chats yet, so I think these are all just old ones. So anyways, I don't know how to fix this. This just started happening as soon as right before I went live, like 2 minutes ago. So, the ghost of donations past, truly, yes. Entertaining stuff, just as from a technology standpoint, I'm like, how is this even possible to have this happen? I don't know. Anyways, I'll just close that for a second. Miss Bandita is with us today. As you can see, she's hanging around doing her own thing. We will gladly talk about what a vanilla dominant is. I'm feeling a little bit low-key today. I just having a lot of the entire lower half of my body is in pain. So I'm sitting on a heating pad, and I'm gonna try and be interesting for the live stream. I've got my dog person mug because I'm a person who likes dogs, and I'm also a person who is, air quotes, don't clip this, Blair White, is a dog. In the sense that I do pet play. Had a very funny comment on a video I did recently that just came out, I think yesterday, that was about reacting to hate comments, critical comments, and somebody responded to that the problem with your videos is that just you're too vanilla, and I find that to be very funny because I very rarely talk about my actual personal kink life on this channel, because I've learned in years previous, thanks to being an online content creator for years and years now, that I don't generally think it's a great idea as a content creator to have a lot of your personal life online, widely available for just anyone to go and find it. And it's funny, people are like, oh, you're too vanilla. It's you say the same things in every video, and it's yeah, we're talking about consent and negotiation. How dare I? So boring to keep reminding people that consent is a good idea and that BDSM is a unique individual experience. I don't generally stretch in the morning. I usually, I have a PT routine that I do, and I do that every day before I go to bed, but I don't stretch first thing in the morning. Anyways, I just zoned out there for a second. Okay, before we get into questions, let's just go through the usual spiel for people. I have lots of cords around me today, so it's a little bit interesting navigating where to sit. There we go, that's better. Today, as always, this is well, not always. Sometimes we do, especially for holidays, just maybe I'll say this too briefly for people that are new to the channel or haven't been here for previous holiday seasons. Usually for the holiday season, I will do like more themed Christmas-y sort of streams, like wintry streams. Like we'll have a nice background, we'll have music, we'll have snow, and we'll play like if you guys were here for the Halloween stream and you saw me play like the Halloween themed like puzzle games, we'll do some like Christmas puzzle games. We'll do some other like seasonal stuff, and it's just like it's fun and quaint and relaxing. We sometimes do other extra streams too during the holiday season, because I know for a lot of people like the holidays can be really fun and enjoyable, and they can also be really lonely if you're not around your family. You know, we have lots of people in the community here that are queer and trans and kinky and all of that, and you know, a lot of us don't necessarily have the contact with our families the way that maybe other people do. So it's nice to get to be around you know, other people during the holidays, not feel so lonely. So just like as a little reminder for that, that'll be happening again this year as far as I have plans for. Anything else? Oh yeah, the actual like 18 plus only live stream. We talk about all sorts of different topics here: kink, BDSM, dating, relationships, polyamory, asexuality, queer issues, all of the everything, more or less. You know, outside of like, I don't give medical advice. I don't really talk about politics on here. So if it's like one of those things, not that. But just sort of a variety talking stream about topics that are generally adult in nature. So 18 plus only. If you're not at least 18, please don't be here. I don't generally have too much of a problem with this these days. I think the kiddos on TikTok are be a little bit more brutish than the last like 7-8 years or so, where like everyone was 15 and trying to find a daddy dom. So it's blessings in disguise, I suppose. But just in case anyone here is like 16, don't participate in the chat, please. It's just like for everyone's safety. And then if you can also read the rules down below, I also have a full FAQ down there with a bunch of frequently asked questions. I have stuff in there about like books I recommend, movie lists, shopping guides for like if you want to know where to buy a flogger or bondage stuff or whatever. I have so much stuff on there if you want to check that out. And just be respectful. Don't spam the chat. Basically how this works is we go in the order that questions come in. And so if you ask early, that is the best way to get your question answered. And then I just try to like go through as many as possible. But if you spam your question repeatedly, I'm not going to see it any sooner. It's just going to annoy me. And then I probably won't answer your question because I don't want to encourage that behavior. So please just be patient. I usually will give everyone like at least like a 15-minute warning before the end of the stream. Unless I get like really ranty, in which case it might be sooner or later than that. But you know, that's like why you all watch the streams, is to hear me rant, I suppose. And also to see my dog. Like, what is she doing currently? I don't know. What are you doing, Doggo? What are you doing, Doggo? What? Okay. I don't know what that was about. I think she does it because that's how she scratches her back. She's like a bear. But, yeah, just don't spam the chat. Be polite. Listen to the mods. And, you know, don't say anything too personal, I guess. Is, you know, just be respectful. You know, I'd say use common sense, but I feel like that's actually that helpful of a guideline. Just, like, don't be too personal. Banana milkshake is where it's at? Okay, wait. I do like the flavor of banana milkshakes. Banana is, like, one of my favorite flavors of all time. It's OP. But also, I'm worried that may be a euphemism for something, and I don't know. Like, wait, could a banana milkshake be like a slang for a thing I don't know? Like, I don't know. I found out earlier today that some Scottish slang for when you get really, really, really drunk. It's like steaming. I think if you're steaming drunk. That means you're like super, super drunk. Which is not how I think about it usually. Yes, I'm usually good at communicating where my limits are for questions. And, you know, I get it. People are curious. I'll let anyone, if somebody asks a question, it's too personal, I'll probably just skip over it. But occasionally it's worth addressing as like a, hey, this like category thing, maybe stay off of that. Like, I think I saw a question last time that was somebody being like, when are you going to show your M on camera? Or when is your M gonna, like, implying that I have a master and that they need to be on screen, and it's like, yes, the internet needs to have proof that I'm not an unsupervised submissive, because nothing on planet Earth could be worse than an unsupervised submissive. Oh no, that would just be terrible, wouldn't it? It would just be awful. Asking about 50 Shades as a media influence. Any fans of The Perils of Pauline? The Perils of Pauline. Maybe it's just the consonants in that, but that sounds very familiar. I don't know where that's from, but yes, like just 50 Shades in general. I feel like that came up recently as a topic again on another video I did, and it's always worth talking about because it is somehow continually like in the popular imagination, and you know, I haven't really done like a standalone video about 50 Shades in like years and years. So if people had more thoughts they wanted to share about it, because the reason why I put it in the title, and the title is always just a suggestion. You guys can ask about whatever you want. I just maybe put in some like recent topics, things that are on my mind to discuss, but I don't necessarily, you know, think we have to stick to those. They're just like vague ideas. We almost always end up going into like other topics and you know, other stuff, which is fun. But I don't know if this is like a miscommunication or like what happened exactly, but I made a video, and I think I had said that I changed my opinion about 50 Shades of Grey, because I used to be very adamantly, like, angrily against it, like, in a way that almost kind of looking back on it is, like, it is a little tinged with being performatively outraged, of, like, it's so terrible, and it's the worst thing ever, and it's gonna destroy the kink community, and, like, you know, sort of the sky is falling, and that was very much the common opinion. And I'm not saying that now I currently like it, but my opinion about it has softened to where it's like, okay, it's been a decade. We can probably stop acting like it's causing the sky to fall. Some other events have happened since 50 Shades of Grey. Other things have come out. Other things in the universe have happened. Maybe we should talk about those issues. Maybe we should talk about, like, other topics that are important in the community versus just being like, oh, that dang 50 Shades of Grey and all the dang newbies it brings around. Like, there is this interesting thread. I think a lot of older people that are not social media savvy, like, they all think that all the new people in the community are there because of 50 Shades, and it's like, it's all over. Like, it is so, I don't know, maybe now how discoverable it is, but in a general sense, like, with all these different social media platforms like Twitter, like TikTok, like YouTube, like Instagram, especially a couple years ago, it was a lot easier to like find community and like discover kink stuff. And like, I mean, that's how I found it, right? Like, I had always had ideas about kink in my head, but I didn't think it was something that people did in real life. And so like, I didn't know that I could act on it until I saw like some random suggested like Instagram, or it was actually, no, it was before Instagram. I got Instagram after I started doing kink. Like on YouTube, I saw a YouTube video and I was like, oh, and it's like opened up this whole world for me. And like, I found out what the BDSM test was and I took that. And like, there's a lot of people who have ins in the community that are not just like, I don't know, like reading the story of O, I guess. Like, I don't know, like, or like reading the Planet of Gore novels or whatever. Like, there's so many
Rosie Rosette donated $5. Random vanilla question for you.
Shades.
What's for dinner?
And I guess
I'm
somebody
hungry.
was just, like, really worried
Question
that I
mark.
was like giving the oh, there we go. Random vanilla question for you, but what's for dinner? I'm hungry. I had a bagel earlier. I had a bagel earlier. I think my roommates are gonna get burgers. They were talking about getting burgers for dinner, so maybe that. Also, I haven't gotten to open them yet, but I did go to my P.O. box today, Rosie, and I did get your letters. So thank you for the letters. Also, did somebody send me makeup from Give Me Glow Cosmetics? Because I had a package from them that was like a ton of purple eyeshadow, and there was no message or anything with it. And I was like, what is, like, I have some of these shades, but I don't remember ordering this. Did I just, like, get really drunk one night and order a bunch of shades and then have it delivered to my P.O. box? Like, what happens? Oh, jeez. But if you're that person and you're here, thank you. Girl dinner, I'm using the meme right? Yes. Having just a bagel for dinner is girl dinner. I know that girl dinner is kind of a meme and people are critical of it. If people don't know what girl dinner is, it's essentially, I think it's a TikTok thing originally, where people would show the random things they have as like usually a single gal, you know, having dinner, and it would be like a handful of grapes and a Hot Pocket, and then like some Cheetos, and then a Nutri-Grain bar, and like whatever, you know, just like a random assortment of like tinier things throughout. My mom always referred to that as grazing. I'm grazing today, is what she would say. And I'm very much the same way. Like, I don't really ever unless I'm with somebody for like a dinner or on a date or something. I very rarely actually like sit down and have a meal. So I like relate to the girl dinner experience. It's like, oh, I'll have a protein bar, and oh, I'm gonna have a yogurt. Like, that's my life. I feel like it's teetering on the edge of like, this could be a cute thing, or it could definitely be like pro Anna stuff. You know, like it teeters on that. No, they did not put your name on the package. No, at least that I don't remember seeing it on there. I can double check, but I don't remember seeing anything. It just said the company name and then like my PO box, and I was like, I definitely ordered from them, but this is like it wasn't. Last time I ordered from them was not recently. So, well, thank you, Nathan. I really appreciate it. I especially like, you don't know this, but you had really good timing because they sold out of all of their eyeshadows because they decided to switch eyeshadow pan size. So they're not, I don't even think they're currently open right now because they're switching over to their new pan size. And so like, thanks for that, because there were a couple in there I couldn't get on the final sale that they had a couple months ago for when they were wrapping up their old pan size that I was sad were sold out. So thank you. Oh, thank you, Mr. Beansman. Hi, Evie, sending good vibes.
Mr. Beansman donated $5. Hi, Evie, sending good vibes.
Skills.
Got to put all my pain processing skills I've learned in BDSM today, getting my facial hair waxed.
Getting your facial hair waxed. Okay, well, how'd that go? Like, I've had my eyebrows waxed before, but I haven't had anything else like lower face wise. So good job, love it, awesome. I've mentioned this before. There's been comments I've gotten about this where people are like, why isn't like hair waxing like more of a thing in the kink scene? And I agree. Like, why isn't hair waxing more of a form of play people do? Because like, we already have wax play, and we have knife play and like straight razor shaving. Like, we have like all of the other, and hair cutting is also a thing, as like not a common kink. You're gonna see it at the dungeon every Tuesday night, but it's around. It's like a kink. It's a known thing, but like actual waxing, I guess if it probably does exist, it might exist in more of like a forced femme like space, maybe. Like, maybe it's more common in like those types of fantasies, which like I get that would make sense. Also, not a great idea to put makeup on immediately after, like, especially doing like a hard style European wax. Like, not a good idea for you know, don't do that and then immediately put makeup on afterwards, in my opinion. At least I'm not an esthetician, but I do wonder, because it is like, I mean, I guess maybe it's because it's sort of time limited. Like, you can't keep re-waxing the same spot over and over again. Like, kind of when you're done with all the hair, it's done. But I feel like you could have somebody come in, you could have them with like fully grown out hair, and then you could like use like barber clippers on them and like clip the hair down to be short enough to wax. Like, you could make it into a whole process. I guess probably the limiting factor is like, you need the wax to be warm, and there's not depending on where you live, not a lot of the public play venues will allow like open electrical play or like plug in electrical devices. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. It went real great. I think having the wax on my face was worse than having the hair pulled. Yeah, especially if you were doing, was it like the popsicle stick kind where it's like spread out and then like they put the strip on and they take it off? I only ever get sugared, so. Oh, epilating is really painful. I tried epilating. I had an epilator when I was in college. I tried it when I was like 18, 19. That could, I would say you could convert it to a kink experience, but like even just using it on your legs, oh my God, like the razor burn, like, but it's not even from a razor. But then also like, I feel like it gives it, depending on your hair type and like how you react to it, I feel like it's just is like way more likely to give you like ingrown hairs and like burns. But I don't know, maybe there's a lot of, maybe it's like outside of like an SSC profile, maybe it would have more of a rack approach to that. Epilation is I feel like that must have been popular at some point. I'm not sure And like an epilator feels like one of those oldie timey devices, you know, where it's like, you know, when they were like inventing the first vibrators, like kind of like that time period of like all these newfangled medical technologies, and try the epilator, pull out all your hair, ladies, don't gross out your husband. Like it feels like it's one of those things, but you know, people still do it. I just feel like now everyone's into like sugaring and like waxing are like the main hair removal forms. I was just about to move the doggo camera, and there she goes, doing a little snooty snooze right there. I love it. Boop. Boop, 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 boop. There's supposedly a model of this camera that will track pet motion, but they don't sell it anymore, and it makes me sad. Epilation downstairs was a 9 out of 10 on my pain scale. I mean, that sounds accurate. Even doing the ones like on my legs, that was on my calf. Like maybe it's because I was doing it on my shin. I feel like the shin was really painful. You could always do the microwave wax. Oh, true. Like if you're doing it at home, yeah, microwave wax is definitely an option. I guess I was more thinking about it, like you don't really see it as like a scene thing at like public dungeons. In my country, the most common way of getting your body hair is waxing. So legs, intimate body parts all go together, back, chest, chin, everything. Wow. I mean, that has to be like a really long session of being waxed. I support girls of all hair levels. True. Like, I don't think you should have to remove your hair if you don't want to. I definitely know people where, like, they don't remove their hair at all. But I feel so vanilla in my body hair removal journey. I've only ever shaved. I mean, if it works for you, it works for you. Like, I basically, without getting, like, too personal, also, I'm moving the location of my heating pad. If you're like, what is she doing? It's, like, it's made my seat too hot. I love heating pads, though. I like laying flat on your back and having a heating pad on your lower back for like 20 minutes after you're done bending over your computer all day is like such a good move. It's something to be ashamed. It shouldn't be, of course, just to shave your legs. Oh, interesting. I also, like, honestly, I think if here, and we're on this whole like side tangent about like body hair, I guess, but like I don't know what it's like for where other people live, but here in Portland there are a ton of like places you can get waxing done. Like a lot of them are very gender inclusive. A lot of them don't have like separate pricing for like male or female. It's just like flat pricing for everything, and then it just depends on what, like, you know, they have I forget what they call it exactly, but they usually have like a Brazilian for when you have a penis and when you don't, and then if you have something in between, they call it like a sphinx or something. Whatever, it doesn't matter. They're pretty inclusive, but the prices are like, it's like $100 for Brazilian. It's like, and that's like, and if you're going and doing that probably once every like anywhere from like 4 to 6 weeks, depending on your hair growth cycle, like it adds up. But like laser hair removal, like that is like, depending on what areas you're going to, that could be like $150 to like $200 for like every 8 weeks, and then it eventually goes away, and it stays away for a long period of time. Facial hair is different. Hormonal hair areas, so like face, underarms, and also groin area, those tend to grow back more, so usually you have to come back in for like touch-up sessions. But like when you actually, that's all you're doing is just shaving. Like if you're doing like waxing or sugaring at a studio, like laser hair removal can actually end up being less expensive over the long term. Just make sure you're going to a place, sidebar of the sidebar. If you are looking for laser hair removal, make sure they're actually using a laser. A lot of places will use IPL or intense pulsed light, or I think it's intense pulsed light. I think it's pulsed, not pulse light. Something like that. IPL. IPL devices and laser devices are not equivalent. IPL is good for a variety of skin tones. So if you're somebody who has darker skin tone, that might be a better option for you. But in terms of efficacy for hair removal, if you're somebody like me and you have light skin and dark hair, laser hair removal is probably going to work best for you. Anyways, that's just like tangent of a tangent. Just like there's a lot of places that advertise that they're laser hair removal places, and they only do IPL. They only have IPL devices, and they are different. Like, in the same way that like getting a European hard wax is not the same thing as getting sugared. Like Do they both remove the hair? Yeah. Like, can they be very different for different people? Yes. And also, like, you wouldn't want to think you're getting one and then the other, because generally IPL should be less expensive than laser. At least from what I've seen, from like the cost I've seen in the area, but like it's very expensive for a lot of places. And then you also have to tip on top of it too, because, you know, tipping culture is a thing. And like, if only shaving was an option for everyone. I feel like I need to just do a whole... I actually have an old video that I never ended up publishing that is about like hair and like body care tips. And I feel like maybe I should remake it because I have different opinions now and like more experience. But how do you deal with the itching while you wait for the hair to grow out to be long enough to wax? Sufficient moisturizing and exfoliation is usually the answer to that in some sort of combination, right? Because there's itching from like dry skin, like especially if you take hot showers and your feet itch after you get out of the shower, that's probably because your feet are really dry because they've been exposed in like the hot water for so long. It can dry out the stratum corneum. But yeah, I would recommend combination of like moisturizer and exfoliant. There's a couple of lotions you can get. I really like the Slather lotion from Topical because it's moisturizing and it's also exfoliating. There are, is it Amlactin something? There's like another, you can get this one on Amazon, I think too. Amlactin? I haven't used it in a while. Amlactin. There we go. Yeah, Amlactin. That's what it's called. You can get that one on Amazon. Be cautious when you're buying from Amazon. Just FYI, there's a lot of fake stuff on there. So just like double check where you're buying it from. Because you don't want to end up with, you know, issues because you put a knockoff cheap lotion onto your bits. You know what I mean? So just be cautious with it. But that's like a good combination also of like it's moisturizing. And, you know, just if you're using it on an area that's exposed to the sun, it does have lactic acid in it. So make sure you're covering up your skin, wearing sunscreen. You know, if you're going to use this on like, if you're going to like, I wouldn't do something on your face. Like this stuff isn't meant for facial use. This is more for body use. But general, if you're exfoliating, sunscreen's a good idea, especially if those body parts are going to be exposed to the sun. But usually it helps with the itchiness. I always found that when I was shaving, it was, if I had underwear that was just like touching the area that had been shaved, it was basically impossible to fully get rid of the itching no matter how much I was moisturizing and exfoliating, just because that's how my body is. And it would lessen it, but it wouldn't totally get rid of it. So if anyone else has any like hot tips, for those situations, I like, especially if it was the first couple of days, I would wear like the seamless underwear when possible. So there wouldn't be any spots where like there is a seam like rubbing into the line where something had been shaved or waxed or whatever. Yep, usually when you see women shaving on screen in pop culture and advertising, they're shaving completely hairless skin. Yeah, I always find that so funny. It's like they're shaving, but there's nothing to shave. My relationship with body hair has changed in a good way since I've been traveling. Yeah, I think there's definitely, I feel like neutral about my body hair. I think usually I just like not having it around, but like I don't really have strong opinions about it. Had some light crackling for a while. Oh, is that still happening? There's nothing that is currently, at least from what I can see from the waveform, if I don't talk, there's nothing that should be coming across that's loud enough to get through the filter. Do you have a video on intimate skincare? I know that I made one. I can't remember if I published it or not. I know that I made it. I think I maybe decided to do it like as an archive video, and I don't think I actually released it. Stream is fine here. Okay. I'll just keep an eye on it because definitely like OBS got updated, YouTube got updated, everything got updated in like the last 2 weeks. So there's definitely potential for something to be miscommunicating or for like a wire to be loose or something. I can't always like test it. Facial hair just feels absolutely atrocious. Oh, I'm very glad I do not have any facial hair then, because that does sound like that would be annoying. That would be something I would not like to deal with. Like, especially if one of those people that has to shave every single day. Like, couldn't be me. Took a few seconds when you did something. Oh, I might have knocked a wire. If I was moving around, I probably knocked a wire and I did something that like caused it temporarily to make a sound. But I'll keep an eye on it. Thanks for the heads up. All right, so there you go. That's all my answers for waxing and shaving and laser hair removal. Is there anything else I want to note about that? If you have ingrown hairs, don't pick at them. The best tool I have found for ingrown hairs, especially if they're really the inflamed ones, is you can get, there's the pimple patches. I can never pronounce this. It's hydrocolloid, whatever they're called. The acne patches that are really popular. I like the ones, you can get them at Target. What the crap? There's some, I don't know, I can picture the packaging perfectly. It's not Curology. Anyways, whatever, you can get those like acne patches. You can put those on ingrown hairs, and they do a really great job, especially because they prevent irritation. Because they're very like, they're not like thick, but they do help prevent like some more surface irritation from making it worse, and then also it can help like, you know, just help ease the inflammation. Beards are weird. Like, why does it grow back so fast? What's the rush? What's the rush? Yeah, exactly. My girlfriend loves my beard. Honestly, I do feel really weird if I'm like kissing a man and he like if I know he has a beard and then like he shaved his mustache area. It's like, that's not how that's supposed to feel. Like, it feels wrong. Like, I'm like, wait, what? Like, there's no little stubbly bit. What's happening? I feel like I just have like such a strong association now with like kissing men and like beard stubble, that when the beard stubble isn't there, it takes me a second to process it and be like, that feels different. What's happening? That's wrong. Just something's not adding up here. Hydrocolloid? Maybe. Yes, the acne patches are great. They help a lot more when like it's the inflamed kind of ingrown hair, because I have had like an ingrown hair before that like it never gets inflamed. I can just see it's below the surface and it drives me nuts. And like with those, you just got to be patient, and like usually over time your body will break down and like absorb the hair that's in there, because it's not supposed to be growing that direction. But like, you know, the human body is not optimized. I gotta say, not optimized. I'm gonna try and find what the name of that like patch was that I like, because oh, Mighty Patch. That was easy. I was just like Target acne patch. The Mighty Patches are really good. I actually pro tip here. For cost effective purposes, I get they make nose strip ones, and I don't use them for my nose. I just cut them into whatever size I need, and they last so much longer than the original like the circular patches, because I can make them into whatever size I want. You do have to have scissors that are like sharp enough to cut through the material, and like you have to, if you don't cut it the right way, like it'll kind of stretch it apart a little bit, and then it'll curl up on the edges, which then won't stick fully to your skin. But, and also when you're applying them, before you apply them, if you have like an alcohol pad or like some kind of like a sandy wipe or something, if you just swipe that over the area before you put the patch on top of it, that'll also help it stick better, because if there's a lot of like surface moisture on the skin, it won't stick as well. So like, especially if you have oily skin, just like don't like dry your skin out, but just like a very light swipe of like an alcohol pad or a sandy wipe or something will one, kind of clear out the surface bacteria if there's anything there, and then it'll help it stick onto the skin more. And I find that to really help, especially for areas where like if you like move around a lot at night and you're trying to put something on like your legs or your groin for an ingrown hair, it helps it just stick better, so that way when you're flailing around at night or getting up, like it doesn't like fall off. So those are all of my pro tips, I guess. It's very exciting stuff. I did not expect that we were going to go in this direction. This definitely is not something I would have said would happen today as a topic. Ingrown hairs, yeah. There's just like, human bodies, we didn't really, we didn't evolve with the idea that we were going to continually shave off all of our body hair. So we didn't really, we didn't develop a technique for that. Me and my partner joke about design flaws when dealing with annoying bodily issues. True. That's a great way of thinking about it. It's just a design issue. Just a design flaw. All right. Love this topic. I'm going to try to find another question, but I will keep an eye on the chat just in case any other questions related to this or any other add-on thoughts come along, because, What was the movie with Roseanne Barr, Tom Hanks, East of Eden? Oh, yeah. Oh, God. I looked for that movie, but it's like, that's like a comedy movie, right? Where they go to they go to an island or something. No, that can't be right. Can't believe I'm Googling Roseanne Barr BDSM movie. That can't be it. All that's coming up is She-Devil. Which, I mean, that sounds like a great title for a movie. Was that Roseanne in that movie? Something with... Oh, I think it's Exit to Eden. Yeah. Oh, it's Rosie O'Donnell. That's who it is. It's Rosie O'Donnell. And Dan Aykroyd. What a combination, honestly. And, who else is in that? I don't know. No one I really recognize, I guess. I don't know who Dana Delaney is. That name sounds familiar, though. Where is she? What is... Something called China Beach? Desperate Housewives? Yeah, I haven't seen any of that before. Oh, Tombstone. I have seen that. Exit to Eden. It has a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes. And a 4.2 out of 10 on IMDb. But it came out the year I was born. I was like... I was 3 months old. I was 3 months old when this movie came out. Oh gosh, yeah. I should really try to find that movie because I bet it's very fun. It says people also search for Interview with the Vampire and Queen of the Damned, so it's clearly in like whatever that genre is. So I don't know how that came up, but no, Exit to Eden is the movie, not East of Eden. Isn't there like an anime movie that has like a similar name to that? One of those like call me by your name. What the fuck? I get whatever. It doesn't matter. Those anime movies that are on Netflix. I sound like such a boomer. Jesus. I don't think that there's a way, at least from what I can see, to voice to text in the live chat. I would love that idea. I think that would be, I love doing voice to texting and like voice notes when I'm texting somebody. Especially when I have really long nails, it's hard to type accurately. Then I end up making a lot of typos because like I think I'm pressing something, but then my nail's long enough to where I'm pressing the letter above it. And that's very annoying, but I would love it if they added a feature. They did, looks like they updated the interface or something. But they didn't really seem to add any new features. Classic YouTube. They just mess with the design. They're like, make everything rounder. That's the improvement people want to have. Exactly. You know, The Vampire is Magical. Such a wonderful queer movie. I also love Antonio Banderas in that movie. Also, because every single time that man was in a fucking film... for years, I'd always be like, and starring Antonio Banderas, and like they'd really lay it on, you know. Oh, it's so funny. He was like peak, I feel like, Interview with the Vampire. Queen of the Damned has nothing to do, has nothing in common with Exit to Eden. Apparently, people think they're similar. Maybe just 90s movies? I don't know. I don't think it's a serious movie in the same way that Queen of the Damned or Interview with the Vampire are, though. I think I watched Interview with the Vampire, not this Halloween, but the Halloween before, for the first time, and that was a fun ride. It was a little romp. YouTube app backgrounds live streams before they start now. Neat. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Comment taken away. I revoke that statement I previously made, and now I guess YouTube did update some features, at least on the app, so cool. We were sending well wishes that OBS will not stand for oh bullshit tonight. I had never heard that abbreviation before, but that's a good one. Now, luckily, all seems to be working well so far, but I have had some issues with things being updated and just like my stream disconnecting from Twitch and just, you know, all the usual stuff. Oh, thank you. Thank you all for the well wishes. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I feel better. Like, honestly, when I'm having a bad day, and like I'm feeling kind of crappy, just like being on stream and talking to you all genuinely like helps me feel better and like feel more awake. I got done editing a video that I was working on last night earlier this evening, and I think it's gonna be a really fun video, and I have another video I'm working on that I'm excited about. Anthony Padilla he's doing a new format that's called, I think he called it Assumptions. And they did the first one they did was about trans people. And essentially they take some of the people that were on previous interviews with Anthony Padilla when they would do them one-on-one. And they have them, and then usually also some new people in like a roundtable group that are all people of that identity or whatever else he's talking about, you know, or somebody of that same experience. And they talk to each other and they answer assumptions that people have about that group of people. And they did one that came out I think earlier today that was about asexual people, and it's like 25 minutes long, and I'm excited to see what else to do with that, because I'm like, ooh, they could do like a dominatrix roundtable. Wouldn't that be fun? Because I think the dominatrix one was also pretty popular. That one probably has like 2 million views, so I'm like, I'm waiting. I think that'll be fun. That'll be fun to have a repeat of that, but it'll probably be a ways down the line. I'm just surprised that asexuality was like the second one. That must have been like a very popular video for that channel, actually, now that I think about it. Let's see, if I look at his channel, can I sort, will it let me? Only has 52k views right now, but kind of what is his most popular? Oh, a lot of his most popular videos are from like 10 years ago. He talked with somebody that has multiple personalities. Oh, one with Mia Khalifa is really popular. Kidnapping survivors, corpse husbands. Oh, the asexual videos. Out of all the ones, okay, so you get a lot of the ones that are about like YouTubers and like sort of really extreme events, like kidnapping, right, and like other disorders. But then there's furries, time travelers, and then asexuals. And the asexuals, that has almost as many views as the interview with PewDiePie and Mr. Beast and Ninja. So hey, like people want to know about asexuality, which is heartening. So that's cute. I like that. We're right up there with the one where he interviewed Otherkin. Fascinating stuff. So I'm excited about this new format because I think it'll be an interesting way to revisit some other previous things they've done and kind of give people an opportunity. Like, I feel like a lot of the other shows like Jubilee and Cut, they really focus on like a combative, I guess, approach to a lot of this, where it's like either you have people that are opposites, like in contest with each other, like can they see eye to eye, or you have like an interviewer who's interviewing like one person one-on-one, but there's not a lot that's like a open like roundtable discussion. Like the closest to that you see is like, is it like, you know, the Spectrum ones where it's like, do all people who are blank agree on whatever? And you know, surprise, surprise, usually they don't. Although the one they did with Ace People like was surprisingly pretty clustered together for most of the answers. But yeah, anyways, I'm excited about that. That'll be fun to react to. I didn't finish watching it. I'll probably watch it later tonight, but all right, just a little tangent there. Wanted to shout that out in case y'all have not been up to date with the Anthony Padilla stuff. Hey, he's been doing some good stuff. I'm not gonna say that I like. There's basically no YouTuber at this point that I will be like, I think this person is like just a good person, like as a personal endorsement. I feel like everyone on YouTube has some kind of something going on, like, oh, they're friends with a transphobe, or they say problematic things about whatever, or you like they have something going on, and it's like, oh, like I like his content. I'm not necessarily, if there's any sort of like, I don't know if he's been in any scandals, or like his wife, I think his wife has been in scandals. I don't support that. I just think the videos are good. That's it. Just to be clear. Just to be totally clear. I wonder if the video has people getting angry in the comment section, because yet again on Facebook yesterday, oh no, don't go on Facebook. Yesterday I saw a bunch of people, mostly men, getting irrationally angry about asexual people. I mean, I can't say that I'm surprised. Like, that's just like what they do, is they feel like entitled to get angry because they're like, the trenders, they're faking being into this thing so they can deny me personally access to their bodies. It's like, oh god, okay. No, yeah. From what I've seen, from what I remember from the earlier one that came out a couple years ago, it has like 6 million views. Most of the top comments that I saw were all very positive, but also I don't know how much he moderates the comments. So that could be a function of just like a heavily moderated comment section and just like deleting the ones that are like, LOL, who are these weirdos? I think for the most part, we ended up seeing with videos about asexual people is, if I had to like combine the average top comments together and make a super average comment, it would be basically like, I don't really get this, but they seem happy, which is the same thing they say about kinky people. They like, I don't really understand this, I don't get their perspective, but that doesn't mean I can't, respect them or whatever. So for the most part, people are just sort of like curious, but they're trying to be kind, but sometimes people don't know what is insulting or not, and they mean well, and they end up saying stuff that is maybe not what other people would consider to be kind. What do you think about otherkin? I don't have any strong opinions about otherkin. This is not that was a very quick one. I'm just gonna say I don't really have any strong opinions. I just feel like it's not something that's my business, like furries as well. I'm just sort of like, I guess my strongest opinions about between like furries and otherkin is I feel like sometimes furries are like, they can publicly be very worried about being associated with sex, and I think that can sometimes lead to maybe a denial of like the sexuality that can be present in like furry fandom and art stuff. And I like, for the sake of like seeming more consumable and appropriate to a general audience. And I'm like, not sure if that's a great thing, but also I'm like not a furry, so it's not really my place to be like, I think they should do it differently. I just like, I don't know, not my life. I don't really care. As long as they're not hurting anybody, it's like, okay, fine, whatever. Can't say I get it on like a personal level where like I relate to it, but that doesn't mean that I'm like, ugh. Those people. The only like thing I really have a problem with in that sphere is probably like the people that say things like, oh, I don't do age play is gross and wrong, I do safer work age regression. Like, that is a personal pet peeve of mine, but that's a rant for another day. Like, if you are using all of the lingo and terminology that the kink community uses, and you shop at the same places and use the same gear, but then you look down on one group as being disgusting and bad and perverted and deviant, but then when you do it, even when you're doing it with a partner, you're like, oh, they're not my dom, they're my non-sexual caretaker. And like, yeah, they change my diaper and sometimes they give me corner time because I need to like have discipline, but like, they're not my dom. Like, it's like, sometimes you can be riding that line and just deny that what you're doing is the same thing as other people are doing because you have a stigma attached to like the the usual label for that kind of activity, or you maybe have a misconception that leads you to think that what you're doing can't be a kink, even though what you're doing is literally identical to what people that are doing it as a kink are doing. That I don't like, because that is like, there is a level of like actual like kink shaming attached to that. Like, what I'm doing is good and safe and valid, and what other people are doing is bad and gross and wrong and not valid, you know? And it's like, come on now, we can all just be doing our own things and not be putting anyone else down for it, you know? Just let's all live our lives, right? How many, like, somebody's like talking about underage furries. How many underage furries can afford a fursuit? Do they just like get a fursuit instead of a car? Like, what are the like? Like, if you're, I guess if your family's of means and you could have been getting a car for your sweet 16, because you do that for some reason still. Like, maybe you'd get a fursuit instead of a car, or like a partial fursuit. I've literally seen someone call their partner their daddy dom, but claim it isn't a kink. Oh, okay. So let's talk about vanilla doms for a second. So, I heard there, I know I have a question that is early on in this chat, and I don't think I've scrolled by it quite yet. Oh, there it is. What is a vanilla dominant? Thank you for giving me that segue, Ryan, that I was going to make naturally anyways, but it also happens to be the next question. So, I did a video recently investigating what in the HE double hockey sticks, as we say in Catholic school, is a vanilla dom. And somebody left an interesting comment under that video, which is sort of like, you should be cautious about talking about this, because by talking about it at all, you're sort of breathing life into the concept and like legitimizing it, even just by like essentially giving it another search result that seems relevant, that like, oh, this could be potentially be a thing, because there's like Urban Dictionary like stuff and like entries for it. But the vanilla dom, from what I can tell, most likely in the way that people currently mean it, originated from a TikTok that was created in like early 2020 by a creator named Marcus, who I have had conflicting reports about his involvement in the kink community. So I'm not sure like how much he participates in the kink community or not. From what I understand, he's moved into more talking about like law talk stuff and not so much kink talk. But at some point he was making like kinky TikToks, and he has this video that's using a clip from South Park, and it's a group of different types of doms all making fun of fake doms. And so he has soft dom and hard dom, and then he has a vanilla dom. And everyone was like, what is a vanilla dom? And there are like, I don't think TikTok tells you how many comments are underneath a TikTok, at least on like, I'm old, so I go to TikTok. I refuse to download the app. So I go to the web browser version of TikTok. It's actually just so it's easy for me to like download stuff and like clip stuff for videos. Like it's not just because I'm too old to figure out how to use an app, but like I go to the web browser, and like you can just like infinitely scroll through comments. And originally when I was researching the video, I didn't see, there were dozens of comments that were all asking like, what is a vanilla dom, with no answer either from other commenters or from the TikTok creator who made the original TikTok. And then after of course I edited the video and did all this research and just like dove into all of it and had this unsatisfying answer at the end that basically like, it probably doesn't really mean anything. Somebody told me on a comment of a different video that they had seen a reply from Marcus that basically said something to the effect of like, I wanted to make this TikTok and I needed a third different type of dom, so I just said vanilla dom. It doesn't have a set definition, which is sort of like the fancy way of saying I made it the hell up. Like, so vanilla dom, for what I, can understand, seems to be a made up term that it was created by a TikToker to be able to use a particular format for a TikTok meme using South Park. And it doesn't actually have a set definition, which is why we all thought that it meant one of like 20 different potential things. And like his TikTok kind of made it a thing. How I would probably like one of the most likely definitions for a vanilla dom, I think, would probably be, and this kind of ties back to the, like, somebody said their partner was their daddy dom, but it wasn't a kink thing. I think some people will mean it in the sense of, I think maybe he said this in his comment too, it's like when you only do power exchange and nothing else. And to me, I don't really like calling that being a vanilla dom, because being a dom is the only requirement of being a dom, you know, is doing power exchange. Whether or not you include impact play or bondage or any of the other, you know, B, S's, or M's in the acronym of BDSM, like, you don't have to include any of that stuff. The DS by itself is, like, perfectly valid. And because vanilla carries a neutral to pejorative connotation within the kink scene, I think labeling a particular way of approaching kink as vanilla is at least subtly sort of insulting on, like, I mean, you're just a vanilla dom. You don't really do anything else. Like, as though you have to qualify your DS by, like, doing other things. And this is exactly the problem that I have with, like, soft versus hard dom, is, like, some of that terminology I think can be useful, but it ends up creating this, like, very clear separation in people's heads where it's like some doms are hard and some doms are soft, and then if you're not one of those two things, then you're a vanilla dom. And it's like, most doms are like a complex mixture of both things, right? Like, a lot of doms will cuddle you and kiss you and praise you and dress you up like a pretty pink princess and buy you donuts and send you flowers at work when you've had a hard day, and they will beat the shit out of you on a Friday night and scold you and give you corner time and take away your favorite stuffy and, like, do things that, like, a soft dom would never do. So, like, most doms I feel like are like a complex combination of both. Or even doms that are, like, more straightforwardly hard doms, right? They're very exacting, they do a lot of punishment stuff, you know, they have strict rules, all of that. They still can have moments of tenderness. And I think creating a hard separation between hard and soft just minimizes potential understanding of nuance and can cause distress, because then people think, well, if I'm with a soft dom, I'm only ever going to get soft stuff, and therefore I don't have to worry about any of this other hard stuff I don't want to have happen. Or, like, it causes confusion about identities or labels when you maybe do want to explore outside of those definitions. Like, I don't know. I feel like my observation of how it's impacted the community is, like, it has a degree of helpfulness, but I'm also worried that I think it creates mental barriers for people in terms of, like, expanding their understanding of their own kink. Because, like, labels, there's always that balancing act you have to do with labels, where it's like there's the utility of the label and, like, how it helps you describe who you are and what you want. But if you take that too far, it can go into creating walls around your own exploration, understanding of yourself, because you feel like you have to conform, especially with social media. You feel like you have to conform to one thing. Like, lordy, back in the day on Instagram, when, like, pet play and age play on Instagram were, like, big things, there was a lot of, like, self-policing within the communities about, you know, people that would do things outside of, like, the typical pet play spectrum, and, like, whether or not you were being enough of a pet or if you were just doing it for the gear or, like, whatever. Like, there's a lot of, you know, pun sort of intended, a lot of cattiness and judgmentalness. That's a real it's a real Colbertism right there. You know, there's a lot of judgmental attitudes that came out of that space, and I just don't want that to keep being repeated, as opposed to just, like, being open, you know? Sometimes people just want to put people in boxes, give them labels, just enjoy each other, no labels needed. That is very true. It's so kinky, it circles back around to vanilla. Yeah, that's very true for some kinks, at least, especially, like, I feel like a lot of the sort of, like, housewife, like, roleplay stuff is, like, it's so vanilla and ends up, whoa. That was my chair. That was my chair arm. Sorry. Don't sigh at me, little baby. Do not sigh at me, baby. Moving the camera so it's closer to the doggo. There we go. What are you doing, little baby? You're so snoogly. She's giving me, like, the major side eye over there. She's like, lady, what are you doing? I think vanilla dom is a mix of trad wife and 1950s for people that don't want to be 100% trad because of influencers that make them seem crazy. Yeah, the trad homemaker homesteading content has definitely been taken over by people that think that ivermectin will solve all of their problems and raw milk is suitable for infants, I guess is what I would say. It is, it's not, yeah. She's a very little sensitive little baby. She's like radar dish ears. When she's like in the yard and she's looking for something, her ears are like, whoop, looking around. So she's always looking for something. But at the same time, I just don't think I want vanilla dom to become a term. But like part of the reason why I decided to make a video about it at all to begin with was because I did do that calculus in my head of, okay, so previous experience from 7 8 years ago, that told me that you would, how do I explain this? Like when terms like pet regression were like a thing and safe for work age regression were like becoming a thing. There weren't really like big YouTubers that were like influencers. And people that were on FetLife were sort of just like totally unaware that this stuff was even like going around. Because this language is really common on like Tumblr and Instagram, not so much really on like FetLife, for example. And because no one really said anything about it, there ended up being this like retroactive hagiography that was like written about like the origin of like pet regression as like an ooh valid experience. And now the belief of like where it came from is so embedded that like it's hard to really have a conversation about like, no, I was there when this was all happening. This is how this was created and by who and why. But like because none of that was really documented, you don't really have any hard facts to go back to. Like pet regression, for example, I can basically go back to like 1 or 2 Instagram accounts that were ran by minors, and they were like sad and upset that they weren't allowed in like the pet play groups because there were adults in there and they were 16, and they got really mad about it. So then they invented pet regression, so that way they had a reason to keep posting pictures of them in diapers and tails on Instagram and be able to say, you know, it's a coping mechanism for my anxiety. It's regression. It's not BDSM. It's not that bad, dirty kink stuff. Did I just get coffee on myself? I did. Great. Awesome. I hope this is decaf. My roommate got me for this. My roommate got me this. It is supposedly a gingerbread, I assume oat milk latte? And they said they asked for it without coffee. But it definitely tastes like there's coffee in here, so we'll see. Don't quote the ancient text to Evie. She was there when they were written. In this case, yes. Yeah, unfortunately, in this case, yes. It is a sad thing that there's... Because it's like, you can have your own stuff, but you don't have to, like, legitimize it by making shit up. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it would just be more honest if you came out there and were like, I like dressing up like a cute animal because it's fun for me and it helps me relax, you know, like just like, you know, if that's what you're doing, you don't have to make up some whole, like, you know, with the Roman Empire, you don't have to write the Aeneid or whatever. Like you can just, you don't have to come up with a whole backstory. You can just be like, hey, here's you know, here's what it is. I like dressing up and wearing these cute things because they make me feel good about myself. And that's that. That's it, you know? There was actually an age regression influencer who used to make videos that I actually thought were good and respectful, and she got bullied off of YouTube for a reason I'm not aware of. That sounds like a whole story. I have definitely... I try to keep tabs on like a couple of like different categories of like kink genre stuff.
T-Wixie Shores donated $5. Is there a Mandela effect going on here? I always remember the 3 dom categories as soft, hard, brat tamer, not soft, hard, vanilla. But maybe that was CGL exclusive.
Is there a Mandela effect going on here? I used to remember the 3 dom categories as soft, hard, brat tamer, not soft, hard, vanilla, but maybe that was a CGL exclusive thing. I feel like I don't remember soft or hard dom being around until TikTok kind of became a thing. Like, I think gentle, you would definitely hear gentle dom. Like, gentle dom, gentle femdom was very much something, especially on Tumblr, that is, male subs that didn't want, like, the traditional, like, pornographic image of, like, a hard female dominant. That would definitely be something that you would see. But, like, soft, what was that? Hard and soft, I would not see so much. And especially, like, brat tamer being the third category, I don't remember. But, like, all of this, like, you have to remember the kink community is so isolated between certain groups. And so, like, something could very much be a thing in, like, CGL versus pet play versus the leather community versus MS. And, like, there can be overlap enough for there to be shared terms, but maybe not shared definitions, or like certain things being more common than others. But I honestly don't know. Also probably regional as well too. As a pagan, I love doing the ancient tradition I made up on the spot to take the piss out of people who insist on being self-important. The 3 dom categories are the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. True, that is the only thing we really need. How do you set up multiple angles on OBS? I'm assuming you're saying OBS. Different scene categories and having multiple cameras. That's it. I don't know. I don't have multiple cameras, so I can't really help you beyond that. But I think you have to manually switch between them. There we go. Okay. Alright, I think that probably about covers that, but... Is your opportunity to change your answers on all super chats? Unfortunately, nothing that was relevant enough for me to change my opinion about. Oh shoot, I got booted to the bottom of the chat. So, any tips on how to bring up BDSM/rope bondage with my girlfriend? Yes, Ryan. So I have a video that I've been editing that is about like a great example of like a great beginning to that conversation and a very terrible ending to that conversation. And I think, generally speaking, especially if you're already with somebody and you've already been dating, I think a really gentle, smooth introduction is best, especially if you have open communication already about like sex and sexuality, right? Like if you can talk openly about like what you do want, what you don't want, you know, hey, this went well, you know, debriefing after intimate interactions if you have those. That can be a good place to put that in maybe, or like kind of just rely on that background of like knowing that you can be open and have communication about that. That's a really, really good foundation to have. But you know, the best thing I would say, like more than anything else, if you don't hear anything else I say, hear this. The worst thing you can do for a conversation like this is to make it into a really big, super duper important dramatic deal. I talk about this every single time it comes up. Do not turn it into a soap opera moment. Do not turn it into like, you know, I've been hiding this terrible secret from you. I feel so ashamed. We need to talk. Do not... the phrase "we need to talk" should not be used. It like don't go there. I think they're like just eliminate that from your vocabulary, because there's like a 90% chance that will activate somebody's anxiety level, and it'll make whatever conversation you do end up having much worse as a result. So just, you know, don't make it over dramatic. Don't make it into any big deal. Just have it be like, you know, very casual, very fun. So for example, like the way that maybe I would introduce it is I might like pick out a movie to watch that maybe has some bondage elements in it or some like kink elements in it, right? So like Secretary and Love and Leashes are really good options. I think just depending on sort of what you're looking for. I don't know, like the Love and Leashes is a female dominant with a male submissive, and then Secretary is a female submissive with a male dominant. However, there are some problematic elements of Secretary. There's some self-harm stuff in there, so if that's not comfortable for you, I'd probably skip it and go for Love and Leashes kind of regardless, because that movie is like fun and light and like it's a good time. And if your gal is into K-pop or like Asian dramas or anything, or it'll be a fun experience for her on that front at least. So maybe watch something like that has bondage in it, and then that kind of gives you a natural segue into like, you know, hey, what did you think about the movie? Like, you know, what did you enjoy about it? And then, you know, hey, have you ever thought about like doing bondage before? Like, would you want to try that? Like, are you curious about it? And, you know, or maybe it's more general to like kink as a whole, right? Like, you know, have you ever thought about kink before? Have you ever explored that before? And then hopefully that'll open up the dialogue into being able to talk about it. But sort of point 2 here is like, don't suffocate her. Don't like take up all of the oxygen in the room by like talking about all of your needs and all of your wants and all of your dreams, because I think that's like it's like the worst way to go about it, because it like, think about it, right? If you take all the worst options and you just come in like a storm, right? And you're like ranting about like how important all this stuff is to you, and you're so ashamed and like how terrible these kinks are, and you're just ranting about all these fantasies you have you never ever get to do, and la la la, like, you know, it's you know, it's hard for somebody to deal with that, especially if they are actually vanilla. But I find that oftentimes people end up being pleasantly surprised by their partner's response if you bring it up in a way that's casual and fun and additive for the relationship. Like if you take a positive tact to it, right? As like, oh, this could be a fun thing to add into our relationship, but like no pressure though. Most people are going to be, unless they're like really, really super vanilla, they are going to be open to being like, oh, okay, like this could be a fun thing. Like, why not explore it? And yes, the doggo's name is Bandita. Her name is Bandit. I have to be careful because if I say her full proper name, she will wake up. It's like activating a sleeper agent. You have to be careful. So I usually call her by a nickname to like allow her to sleep. And she has her tongue out like this. It's so cute. She had dental work done recently, and she had some of her front teeth removed. They've been problematic for a while. She hasn't, because I like talking about my dog. Sidebar about my dog for a second. Bandita, I've had her for a couple years now. Her birthday is March 1st, and her adoption day is August 1st. And she's very sweet. And she was a breeding dog for pretty much her whole life. And then she was being retired because she was too old to make more puppies. And then I got her. And I don't know if she'd ever been a pet really before that. And she was just the sweetest little angel love bug ever. She's very responsive to her name, but she didn't really have any dental care or anything for like the first 7 years of her life. And so because of that, she's always had really terrible teeth, and it's been like a project to like get her teeth to a more stable place. And we're finally there. According to the vet, we are finally there for stable teeth health. No more problematic teeth we really have to watch for at this point in her life, which is actually pretty good for a dog of her size. They're pretty prone to dental decay. But now she's missing some front teeth, so now when she's sleeping, she'll stick out her tongue like this, because there's not any front teeth to like keep the tongue from sticking out, and it's very cute. Literal sleeper agent, yes. She is a heckin' blep, that's true. Yeah, ye oldie epic bacon la meme. For real, yeah. We need to talk never ends well. Like, even if you have good intentions by saying we need to talk, just avoid that phrase, honestly, because like most people are used to hearing that term. Because think about it, right? In vanilla relationships, most of the time, by default, people don't talk, right? They don't bring things up, you know, we're not going to talk about stuff in advance because it ruins the mood. People hide their feelings. They hide their mental illness. People are very recalcitrant to reveal who they really are. And so most of the time, the only time somebody hears a phrase like we need to talk is like right before a breakup, a separation, somebody confessing to cheating. Like, it's just all negative shit. So avoid potential past negative interactions by, if you want to have it as a separate conversation, I think try to find a natural way to bring it up in a conversation versus like having it be like a whole dramatic, like we need to have a sit down thing. But maybe I might say something like, just to give your partner more specific information about the topic you want to cover. Compliment sandwich, always a good technique, right? So you can say like, hey, I've been really loving exploring our sexual relationship and the direction it's going. I have some more ideas for maybe what we could do that would also be fun to explore. If you want to have some time to just like sit down and talk about that for a while, like when would be a good time for you? Like just make it very clear that like you're not trying to surprise them with anything. They know what the topic is going into it. And that it's not a bad thing, and like again, they just kind of know what to expect. And I think that if you do need to not have the conversation right then and there, is a more positive way of just kind of a vague blanket, like we need to talk. People don't talk. Ah, yes, what a great way to have a healthy relationship. It is amazing how healthy some superficial relationships can be purely because the people involved don't talk, and so therefore they cannot get emotionally invested enough to like have any sort of negativity. We need to talk equal. I'm leaving you for Jody. Jody, the pharmacist. I always suspected her. I knew she was going to take my man. Well, I mean that people don't talk about like, I guess what I meant by like people don't talk about like their mental health is like a lot of people, again, as somebody that primarily dates men, like there are a lot of people that will either not be aware that they have depression or don't want to talk about the fact that they're depressed because they're ashamed of it. And you'll get kind of a constellation of like a cluster of different symptoms that like when you lay them all out, you're like, let's get on the DSM checklist for depression, shall we? But it's sort of, especially a lot of, just as like a random factoid for people, just maybe this is helpful for people to know. You can look this up on your own, not a mental health provider, not assessing anybody, just giving general information in case anyone didn't know. A lot of cis men tend to present and talk about their struggles with mental health and especially depression differently than women do. And so you tend to hear a lot more about like physical symptoms, aches and pains, restlessness, poor sleep, poor eating habits, feeling lethargic, things like that, as opposed to like the more emotional or like feeling based like symptoms of depression. So, if you have a partner that tells you a lot about how they're tired and they can't really sleep and they're not really interested in anything, might want to encourage them to look at some like self-evaluating forums and such, like if you have a concern about that. But a lot of people do just like not talk about that stuff because they just don't want to have that vulnerability with a partner. Like it's scary to be open about it. I think because for some people, if other people don't know something is wrong, then it's like nothing's really wrong. Like admitting it to other people makes it real, and making it real makes it scary. Because if you just think to yourself, I'm feeling kind of crappy, I'm having trouble focusing, I'm not sleeping, but it's fine. Like I'll just carry on, I'll just deal with it. It's my burden to bear. I don't want to worry them. And then people just don't talk about it. And then they don't talk about it, and then they just hide it, and they just don't want to be open because they don't want the vulnerability that comes along with maybe asking to get help. But anyways, that's sort of an aside there, I guess, for the topic, which is like talking about how to introduce your partner to kink. But I do have some older videos where I have talked about like how to introduce your partner to kink, and I have some interviews as well too. But basically they all really kind of boil down to what I just said, which is like, make it positive. Don't make it a life or death situation. Don't leave your partner hanging and guessing what the topic of the conversation is about. Find a natural way to try to bring it up in conversation, either by like, depending on the relationship and what is typical for you to share and do together. That could be, watching a television episode. That could be watching a movie. It could be, watching a certain anime or reading a manga, or, it could be sharing porn even too. Like that could be potentially something, again, depending on the individual relationship, and then using that as a springboard for getting into a larger conversation, or just finding ways to sort of naturally work it into maybe other conversations you may already be having about like sex and intimacy. yeah, definitely easing into conversations. And also, just to say this might seem obvious, but just to get it out there, make sure you're both in a good place mentally to have the conversation. You have time to have the conversation. You know, if you're up at 2 a.m. and you've been having an argument for 3 hours, that now is not the time to like rotate the conversation into like, oh, by the way, I wish I could explore kink with you, but you're too much of a, you know, expletives here, you know, to ever understand that about me. Like, don't bring it up when it's clearly a bad time, you know, tired after a long day at work, or you've been having family problems or health issues. Like, make sure you're, you know, you're rested, you're relaxed. It could be like, you have to be careful because you don't want it to come across like you are doing something manipulative, right? There's a balancing act here of like, if you take your partner out for like a really fancy dinner and like a spa day, and then at the end of that, you're like, so will you be my dom? That will probably come across as being manipulative, and it might actually be. So I wouldn't recommend doing that, but helping your partner like find ways to like relax and be in the place for a good positive conversation. Like, you know, maybe you go to a farmer's market together, you go walk around and look at the fall colors, you go ice skating together, do some kind of like cute little activity that's like bonding and emotional, but not maybe like a big production, right? Like if you're showing up with roses and chocolates and you never do that, it's gonna feel like a, why are you like, this my it just like, for some people it won't register this way, but just like for some people it's gonna be like, yeah, he just like was suddenly really nice to me and he started complimenting me a lot. He bought me, you know, roses and chocolates and got me a massage, and then you know, what he really wanted is he was just trying to manipulate me into like sex or to do kinky shit, and that like, that's gonna feel bad. So balancing act. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I want to talk to one of my play partners about some of my insecurities, and it's still really scary for me. I mean, I think that's totally valid. I think bringing up your insecurities, especially if you want to talk about like everything, is it's daunting. And this is sort of related enough to the question we're on to where I'll answer this now. Uh, I think for me, if I'm having trouble verbalizing something that I want to talk about, it is helpful to write it down. That could be keeping an ongoing diary. That could be just like writing down what your insecurities are and like finding a way to work through that. It might be, and I'm not saying like write down like a text message. I'm saying like physically write it down, or like write it in a Google Doc. Like make it a little bit more real to yourself and find ways to work through that, like mentally kind of get your head around it, that like this is something you want to acknowledge and talk about with your partner. And like just keep repeating that, right? Keep writing it down. Say it out loud to yourself. Like essentially the goal is to desensitize yourself to those facts. And when you do that, when you can accept them, then it becomes a lot easier to like talk about it with a partner. Hopefully it'll feel a little bit less scary. And I also think it's good to keep in mind that just talking about something doesn't like make it real, whereas it wasn't before. I mean, there's always kind of the fear with a partner that giving them this knowledge might put you in a bad position in terms of like manipulation or blackmail, or like giving them leverage for like embarrassing you or teasing you. And like, I guess point one before anything is making sure you really trust the partner that you are with. And you know, if you don't feel like you can trust them with your feelings and the like like there's sort of like an irrational level of like making excuses on purpose to be like, well, but one time they didn't answer my phone call immediately, and so therefore I can't trust them. Like, you have to have a level of like rational analysis of like, okay, can I trust them in a reasonable degree with my feelings? For example, like, have they seen me cry before? How have they handled that? If they know that I'm angry or sad, how do they handle that? Like, do they smother me? Do they talk over me? Do they tell me not to feel a certain way? Do they try to comfort me and listen to me? Do they respond in the way that I want to be responded to that helps me feel supported? And if the answer is yes, they have helped you feel supported. You know, they don't override your feelings. They don't try to like commandeer your feelings and be like, I mean, that's pretty silly. You seem so upset right now. Like, why would you be insecure about that? You have nothing to worry about. Like, also, just as a thing for people that maybe are receiving this information from a partner, please don't invalidate your partner by telling them that they shouldn't be worried about something or that something shouldn't be a big deal to them. because everyone has their own individual insecurities. We tend to be our own worst critics, especially as far as body image issues are concerned, if that's part of the insecurities going on here. And, you know, hearing your partner say, like, you know, eye roll, why is it such a big deal to you? Like, that's, like, very hurtful to most people. So please don't do that. Bandita is eternally supportive and always happy to listen and never judgmental. Be like Bandita. Don't be like Squidward. Don't be like Squidward. Don't be a Squidward. Be like a Bandita, who is always adorable and happy to listen. That's the thing. I feel guilty like saying any of it because I know full well he's got his own complications, conflicts, and obligations, and he's made it clear that he only sees us as play partners. Yeah, that does, like, there is, to a certain extent, the implication when you talk about certain things that, like, you are expecting a certain level of support once you reveal that knowledge. But also, like, that is important information for, like, informed consent to, especially, like, emotional masochism, if that's, like, part of what you're doing at all. Like, if your partner doesn't know certain insecurities are there, like, they're not going to necessarily know about, like, you know, potentially anyways, you know, certain words to stay away from or topics to stay away from for, like, again, like, emotional masochism, humiliation, things like that. So without it sounding robotic, I guess what I would do, like when I have a partner that I know is not really mentally available, either because of their own issues, because of like their life circumstances, the duration of our relationship, you know, just like, you know, if they're really busy, if they got 3 other partners and they run their own business and like whatever, you know, they've got their own mental health issues, they have seasonal affective disorder, whatever it is, right? Some combination of that stuff. You know, if they got their own stuff going on, I will generally not try to like burden them with like my own stuff or like concerns I have, unless it's like relevant to like things that may impact our relationship, or if it comes up like during a conversation. Like I generally have a policy of like not hiding things from partners. I really don't feel like that's like healthy to do, to have like also I feel like it's hard to do at a certain point. Like if you're really struggling with like a certain insecurity, like it's probably going to come out at some point and they're going to figure out one way or the other to begin with. But I might frame it more like a, you know, like, hey, there, you know, I know that you've got a lot of your own stuff going on, but there is something that I want to make sure that you know about that could be relevant to like our scenes or playing together. And I hope that we can have a chance to talk about that. Like, are you available for that? And just like kind of understanding that like hopefully they will be empathetic to you and understanding, but they're not necessarily going to be able to take that into any kind of like further emotional or mental support, you know? Everyone's like, I get Squidward. Also, just being a play partner doesn't completely remove someone from seeing that partner as a human being. Emotions aside, there has to be some common ground to meet on. Yes. Yeah, like what it means to just be a play partner can vary so much. Because like some people, play partners are like, we only talk when we're doing a scene, and that's pretty much it. Like we don't really have any outside communication beyond that. But then other people, like play partners, involve like a much closer friendly relationship and like a more ongoing connection outside of scene. So it really varies too. So that's also another factor to consider too. We do that for 40 years, then we die. Sounds like a pretty good deal to me. Was the most real thing a cartoon character's ever said. Yeah, I think Squidward said that in one of the episodes. Yeah. Squidward definitely becomes more relatable when you are an adult. That is for sure. That is for sure. One of my favorite episodes is the one where he goes to the squid, like the all squid town, and there's the canned bread. I don't know why, that was always so funny to me as a kid. I loved that episode. He just goes to the store and get canned bread. I don't know what this says about me, but when I was a child, like one of my favorite things to think about for being an adult is like fantasizing about like, you know, not like in that way, but like just sort of like imagining what it would be like to be an adult and get to do like my own grocery shopping and like organizing my own pantry. I don't know why it was like, I'm just like, ooh, when I'm an adult, I'm going to get all of these things and I'm going to organize my pantry like this and it's going to be so great. Too bad that didn't kill me. He's like such good little one-liners in there. Yeah, it's Squidville. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're talking about epilators. Thoughts on hair removal on cis guys. My sub likes smooth guys, and I discovered how much I like to be smooth. It depends on where on the body. I kind of talked about this, but just to maybe give, like, my own assessment of it is I generally date people that have beards, and so I'm very used to beard hair, and I prefer beard hair to a certain extent, as long as it's, like, well kept. You know, I'm not necessarily like a full beard, but, you know, a little 5 o'clock, somewhere between like a 5 o'clock shadow and like a Riker beard. That's sort of like my territory of what I am I'm down for. But I you know, it doesn't really matter too much to me. I'm a little bit weirded out when somebody I know has a beard suddenly like shaves something and it's smooth, and I'm like, this isn't correct. I have not conditioned myself to expect this. What is happening? Be a little bit off-putting. But like otherwise, like any sort of other grooming, I just am like ambivalent about. I don't really notice anything else. I think a lot of people do prefer smooth. I'm gonna guess that most people that are not asexual prefer like smooth. But beards are like scratchy, and I like scratchy textures. I like coconut rope, and I like sandpaper, and I like carpet, and I like jean textures, and so like rough, itchy, scratchy, like not itchy necessarily, more like scratchy, rough, like a braiding textures are my thing. So that's probably why I like beards. But I'm not sure. I don't know if I pulled submissives. Okay, this is a random side note. I think if I pulled vanilla women versus kinky women, I think it would be more likely that kinky women prefer beards, and like more vanilla women would prefer clean shaven. But I think it would be pretty mixed either way. Like, I don't think it would necessarily be like a blowout in either case. Because I think beards very much come and go in fashion. And I think we're sort of in like the late peak of like a beard era. I feel like we're going to come back around to clean shaven being the standard. But, you know, beards have had a moment in history. That is for sure. She does love licking her little balls and doing little grooming. Are you awake then, girl? You're doing a little grooming. Staring at me. Love it. The worst hair removal method I've ever tried is silky mitt, basically a sandpaper mitt. Oh yeah. I haven't seen the mitt, but the stones, right? I've seen the stones that are supposed to remove hair, like you're using a sweater shaver on yourself. 6 hours later, I can't be bothered. It's too inefficient and ineffective. I mean, I would have to look that up for just like kink purposes, cause I think that could be fun for kink purposes. Oh yeah. Okay, that is what I was thinking of. Oh my god, literally, the first article is called, and I quote, "The Great Silky Mitt Disaster of 2014. Oh god. Oh my lord, that is, I headed home with my new glorified sandpaper and set to work on my left upper leg. I really wasn't expecting much from my silky mitt experience, but I figured what the heck, let's give it a whirl. Lo and behold, after my several circular rotations, the area I rubbed was super silky smooth. All my ingrown hairs vanished. I got excited, and that's when it started. At first, just a tingle. A tiny tingle on my upper left leg where I had first started the rotations. Slowly, the tingle grew and grew until it developed into a mild sting. I thought, surely it's just that area, nothing to worry about, just a slight chafing. Oh my god, it burns! My whole left leg was on fire. I ran to the tap and wet off a flannel. Surely a cold flannel will help, I thought. I plastered the flannel onto my leg as the right leg chimed in, starting to burn too. For a moment, it was cool and soothing. Then all of a sudden, the fire returned. Oh, Lord. Okay. So, yeah. So basically, it's very abrasive, and it removes the hair and all of the skin on the outer part of your leg. So that sounds great for kink purposes. That's as long as it's not like breaking off. My worry is that this would break off little like bits that would get into like open wounds potentially. But I sort of like, this looks like it's like a UK thing, because a lot of like Australia, like it's oh my god, there's one for the face. There's one for the face. Maybe it's an Australian thing. Is this like, maybe this isn't legal in the US? Maybe we're like, maybe the US was like, maybe don't use a pumice stone on your on your face. Yeah, there's like these crystal hair removers. It says it gently exfoliates dead skin cells. I think this is maybe made out of glass. Does it say what it's made out of? It looks like it's like the same. It says it's painless, reusable, and easy to use and eco-friendly. I mean, like, I'm sort of intrigued by this, but what is it? It just says it just says a crystal. What is this made out of? What is it glass? Why can't I find this information? Is there an FAQ? I want to know what this is made out of. A lot of people love it apparently, but who even knows with these reviews? There's not even. What is your concern? I want to know what the material is. Okay. So there may be a different version of it that's good. Personally, I haven't been a fan of facial hair. It might be due to my being autistic and it being really sensitive to different textures. It has less to do with being aesthetically attractive. Good point. Yeah. Glass on your face. What could go wrong? Glass nail files are very popular. Or like callus removers are very popular too. I've used a lightly abrasive hair removal system. It worked really well, but I don't like lotion. Oh. Crystal is made out of your fears? Wow. That sounds intense. There's also like a magic mitt, like body mitts and stuff. This is like a whole world of beauty products that I was not fully aware of that I'll have to investigate further at some point. So thank you for giving me more DIY kink ideas potentially. I love it. And I've been in the kink scene for almost, it's gonna be in like 2 years, it's gonna be a decade. And I'm still learning new stuff. I love how we're simultaneously talking about hair removal and brainwashing at the same time. It's a very, very typical combination of topics for this channel. Like, just cookie recipes and hypnosis. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's see, looking for, oh my gosh, wow, okay. We have about 25 minutes left. The time just flies when you're talking about shaving techniques, am I right? So get your questions in if you've not said it already. I am scrolling and trying to find another question, but we're just so deep into the beard argument. My God, people have opinions. People love beards, they hate beards. Interesting. People have strong opinions about it, I see. Well, good for getting some exercise, getting some almond milk. That's great. I love that. I'm out of milk right now because I accidentally bought milk that was like, it's not milk. It's like, I like we usually, because it's the one milk we can all agree on in the house, we usually get the Silk Next milk. I like almond milk personally. Almond milk's like, the macros on it are pretty good. And, oat milk is taking it over though, unfortunately. But the next milk I got was a little too close to its expiry date, and it got kind of chunky and weird, which is disappointing. But it's really great for baking purposes. Anyways, that's my milk update in case anyone was like, I wonder what kind of milk she likes. Because everyone was dying to know an answer to that question. She do have little feetsies. She do got little feetsies. They're very cute. She is the groomer's favorite customer. I will say that. Because she's just easy peasy. And she's very cute. I have a friend who cheats on his wife to fulfill his kink. He's also bisexual and she wouldn't accept that. He said he's tried to get her into a little kink, but she's just not interested. This is okay. I am very curious, like, what people's thoughts about that are. She wouldn't accept he's bisexual. It's just a no-go. He cheats on her. It doesn't matter if she wants kink or not. It's a no-go. Like, this is very common with a lot of pro-doms. I don't know what percentage of pro-doms clientele are married, but it seems like a lot of them are married men where their wives do not know what they're doing. And that's, like, really sad, because I think part of it is, like, maybe they'd want to be open, but they feel like they can't be because of the social stigma around being a male submissive or being bisexual or both. And that's sad, but also, like, if you're going to cheat on your partner to get your needs met, like, it's very rare that you get to go to the grave with that never coming out, especially in the age of social media and screenshots and screen recordings and DMs and call logs and, like, maybe like back in the olden times when, dear old husband would go in to work at the office for the week and come back on the weekend, and he'd stay overnight at his condo or whatever, to stay close to the office for work while the kids and the wife lived in the burbs. There's more opportunity back then to, like, covertly cheat on your partner without ever being caught, because there was so much physical separation and no paper trail left behind other than maybe paper receipts or something like that, I guess, or whatever. But, these days it's just like, you're playing with fire. Like, it's very, very rare that you are not going to be caught at some point, at, like, bare minimum, right? Regardless of the morality of it or fairness or anything. Just, like, at some point that bubble is going to be burst. And if you're to that point where you are, like, willing to cheat on your partner to get your needs met, I feel like that's still not an excuse. Because at that point, like, if you're monogamous and you're cheating on your partner because, like, they won't accept your sexual orientation and, you can't be out about being kinky with them, like, why are you married? Like, it's one thing if you have kids or you're, like, dependent on them for, like, health insurance, or, like, one of you is, like, disabled and can't work. Like, if there's dependency involved, then, like, I maybe get it a little bit more, like, why initiating a separation is, like, not so easy. But, like, if there's nothing, like, tying you down, like, you don't have kids or anything, not, like, little kids at least, why are you still there? Like, you don't have to be with this person who doesn't accept you, and, like, it's not fair to either of you to, like, run around. But I get, like, some people are like, no, like, cheating is totally acceptable, and, they're never gonna get who you are, and, like, so therefore it's fine. But it's like, I don't know. I just feel like if you're in that point in the relationship where that feels like that's your only option anyways, like, the relationship's kind of already over. So why not just finish the job and, like, do it cleanly without making it a huge emotional mess the way that cheating usually does? Sadly, being open about infidelity in a marriage can be a financial disaster in the making. It's still the right thing to do, of course. Well, I mean, like, the ideal thing is that you're open about the marriage being over before the infidelity starts. Because being caught, like, let's say, you do have a number of assets, you're well off financially, depending on the laws in your state. If your partner is, like, tech savvy and finds evidence that you've been spending thousands of dollars on dominatrixes for the last several years, and she combines all that shit together, like, she can take your ass to the fucking cleaners, depending on where you live and kind of what the laws are and how long you've been married and whatever, like, there's a lot of variability in that from what I understand. But ideally, if you are to the point where you're like, I can get my needs met, I really, like, like, what need is this person fulfilling for you in your life? Are they just, like, doing your laundry for you and, like, being a bed warmer? Like, if you don't have any intimacy in the relationship because you don't have the ability to be open, like, what are you doing? Like, why are you there? Like, just be open before the infidelity starts, so that way you don't have to deal with the inevitable, like, long, arduous, very expensive cost of a contested divorce that comes with cheating. Like, make it easier on yourself long term. I came out to my now ex-wife and she tried to burn my life down. I mean, yeah. There's always a like, even if you are open about it before cheating happens, just, like, being kinky, like, that can and will be weaponized in divorce proceedings. Absolutely. Oh, like, yeah, when you came in as kinky, yeah. Yeah, I gotcha. I don't know. I think it's complicated, cheating and kink and, like, not getting your needs met. Because I think, there are certain situations where, like, let's say theoretically, you got married super young, you were, like, 18, and you married somebody who was, like, in their mid-20s, and now you're, like, 25, and they're, 33 or something. I don't know. And you have 3 kids together, and because you got married super young, you, like, didn't get a college education, you live in a really rural community, you're separated from your family, there's, like, a whole laundry list of stuff going on there, right? They control you financially, you don't have your own car, you have all this stuff going on. Like, pursuing an online relationship when you don't really have any options to, like, escape the relationship you're currently in once it's emotionally dead, I think it's maybe more understandable. But, like, it's sad that, like, things even get to that point, Like, if you're in an abusive dead-end marriage, like, I'm not going to be like, well, you know what, the important thing to focus on in this conversation is the fact that you were talking to a stranger online, Like, I would be like, let's talk about the fact that, like, the finances and lack of transportation and that you weren't allowed to get a higher education and then you weren't allowed to use birth control and blah, blah, blah. That I would want to focus on. But as a side note, let's also not necessarily encourage cheating. We can understand why it happened. We can be accepting of reality, but we do not have to necessarily dwell on that like that's like the real problem, It's frustrating that so much of it just boils down to communication that can lead to resentment and feelings of isolation. Yeah. Yeah, like if your partner doesn't feel like a safe person to talk to about your feelings, your desires, like what's going on with you personally, it's so hard for the relationship to move forward or like be positive because you're always thinking to yourself, well, like I wish I could talk to this person, but I really can't because like they're going to shut me down. They don't really understand me. It's going to turn into an argument. Like, who wants that in a relationship? Like constantly arguing isn't fun. Constantly feeling invalidated isn't fun. And like, I don't think people act that way like with bad intentions all the time. I think there are a lot of people that are very, and again, this is sort of my dating experience, kind of living in areas that are very tech focused. You run into a lot of people that are very like logic brained. I am logic brained. I think logically. Everything I do is rational. And so they're very paranoid about like accidentally validating the wrong feeling or bad feelings because they're worried that like they're going to encourage like those feelings to happen more, or like they're just like afraid, like just like afraid of being around negative emotions, to be honest. And it's really sad because then like your partner doesn't feel safe talking to you because like they know that like the inevitable result of any conversation is just going to be like, basically, have you just tried being happy about it instead? Like, oh wow, you figured that one out. I really could just like choose to be happy about this. Like, because there are like, like there's like the CBT triangle, right? There's like, behaviors, thoughts, and feelings or whatever. And like you can kind of interrupt that process and you can change your beliefs about feelings. You can change your thought process. You can change the behaviors you have as a result of your feelings. But there's a difference between like you on your own trying to break down your own emotional process and like situations that happen and understand like how you want to act in a more effective way that's different as a result of your feelings, and like gently over time maybe shift like the intensity of feelings that come up or what emotion comes up, which is that, but that's very different than just being like, I don't know, have you tried like just liking it? Have you just tried like suppressing that feeling or desire for kink? Like, have you just tried like enjoying vanilla sex more? Oh God. Also, in some cases, I do know people that are really that really still care for each other, but sex is just no longer an option for one person, and it's still important to the other. It gets complicated, yeah. I mean, but in that case, it's like you gotta have an open conversation and then talk about like, sex workers or an open relationship or something like that. If sex is just like totally off the table for whatever reason, you gotta have an open dialogue about it. I loathe logic brain people. Every time they open their mouth, I want to be an even dumber bimbo. I wasn't expecting the end of that sentence. I mean, more power to you, I guess. I don't know where I thought that sentence was gonna end up, but that was good. Oh, that was a good one. I don't know. I just like, okay, I need to be clear about this because there are kinks that are like, like mindfuckery, hypnosis, like behavior shaping related stuff. Yes, there are possibilities in consensual kink relationships for your partner to be like, okay, you're going to learn how to do this skill and you're going to like doing it. Like, you are going to learn to love, like, washing the dishes. You will find a source of pleasure in this activity I'm going to assign to you. But there is, like, doing that in a consensual kink relationship where that's part of the understood premise of the relationship. And then there's, like, on a person-to-person level, in an egalitarian vanilla relationship, not feeling safe talking to your partner about your genuine feelings because their response is always going to be a shutdown, Yeah. There's I don't know, like, there's a balance. There's a difference. It's not a balancing act. There's a difference between, like, people being, like, pathologically, like, purely rational to the point of being, like, feelings are dumb. And therefore not leaving any space for their partner to express emotions because, well, emotions are dumb. See point one. And then it's not like a good framework for a relationship. Like, ideally there should be, like, the ability to talk about feelings and like have empathy and understanding, and then we can get into, like, the power exchange control and the being ordered. But even, like, most people I know that have, like, longer term, like, TP relationships, the focus isn't necessarily on changing the feeling itself, but about behavior, right? Like, the line is usually, you don't have to like serving me my coffee in the morning, but you can still do it with a smile. And different people are going to be okay with that, and some people are not going to be okay with that. So it's all individual. But most of the time, people I know, they're not, like, trying to literally be like, choose to be happy. Like, in a kink context, like, choose to be happy about this. They're like, I don't care if you like it or not, just act like you're happy. But, like, I'm not okay with that. But other people love that shit. Other people are like, yeah, tell me how to feel. And it's just, again, the kink world is a very large and diverse experience of different ways to approach kink. Anyways, I don't know how we... Okay, we got 10 minutes left. 10 minutes left. Let's go. Speed round. If I can find questions that let me speed round. Maybe not a speed round. I've been asked to do a class about CNC. Is there anything other than the obvious I should include? I feel like the main thing I've seen that's a problem with CNC classes is I feel like they tend to focus on just the sexual aspects of CNC. I would definitely, like, make a note in there of talking about, like, non-sexual CNC, CNC as a relationship framework versus a scene thing, and then, like, long-term potential emotional impacts of CNC. Those would be, like, the three big things I oftentimes do not see covered in class material. They tend to be, from my experience, very focused on either, like, physical resistance play or, like, kidnapping, like sex crime role play, basically, which is not all CNC. There is one great class I've taken about CNC that was done by a couple that had CNC as the basis for their whole relationship dynamic, and that was very insightful because they talked about things like, for example, one big thing, and I wish I remembered this couple's name so I could give them due credit, but this was years ago, so I don't remember who they were, but they talked about CNC as a relationship framework and, like, having outside people that were in the kink community that could be their sounding board for, like, hey, are we going too far here? Like, because when you're doing extensive CNC, that line of, like, when is this consensual non-consent versus genuine non-consent can be tougher to figure out. And, like, trying to find that line of, like, okay, are we genuinely causing negative long-term impacts we're trying to avoid here? And, like, seeing what other people are observing and having, like, a check-in or, like, accountability the people in your circle. Remember the Barbies that grow their hair by pulling? That could be amazing. Oh, you know, I think I remember that. I mostly remember the ones that had the color changing hair. You want no hair, short hair? No problem. Just cut it. You want them tomorrow? Just pull it gently. That would be fun. That would be fun. Society's obsession with every movie needing to be blockbusters or Oscar bait, and not just fun little windows into odd situations. Yeah, it's sad that we don't have more quote unquote mid-budget movies these days. We have a super chat from Raymond. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hi, thank you. If one wants a fun, quirky movie, I recommend True Stories starring David Byrne, and John Goodman. Okay, thanks for the recommendation. Oh, this is a good one to end on. What are your thoughts on a sub being restrained while sleeping in bed? The mister has brought up wanting to sleep while I'm leashed to the bed in such a way that I can't get up from it without him. So I have done this before many times, and the way that I have found that this works the best is, if you want to literally use a leash, I really recommend having a seatbelt cutter, like right there, like have a quick way to be able to get out of it, or even just like clipped, you know, like have one of those lobster clasp leashes, assuming you don't want to be locked in, because there's a difference between just like wearing restraints and being restrained to the bed and being locked into the bed. If what you want is just to be restrained, you need to use a regular leash, you know, have a seatbelt cutter, have safety shears, you know, have a quick way to be able to cut through the material if in case something happens. You know, I live in an area where, like, you know, fires, earthquakes, that kind of thing is a concern. So I like to, you know, not set myself up for dying in an earthquake if I'm doing a scene like this. So I prefer to, you know, not be, you know, fully restrained in a way that I can't get out of. And if you are doing something locking, like with chains, for example, and you're being chained to the bed and you're wearing something locking, what I would do is you can get these like quick release links where if you pull on them hard enough, like very quickly, they will snap and break off. It won't break the rest of the chain, it'll just break there. And putting in like a little chain of those breakable links towards towards the end, but somewhere near wherever you're being restrained to, so that way you don't have to worry about like undoing the locks if you need to get free in like an emergency situation. I realize that kind of like potentially ruins the immersion of like knowing there is an emergency way to get out. However, house fires and things like earthquakes happen very quickly, and you don't really have time to like fiddle with a lock in the darkness when like an emergency is happening. So I prefer to be on the safe side and not like risk imminent death to have something fun happen while I'm sleeping. Like, seems like a very bad trade-off for me. The risk to reward ratio there for like how much better the kink is, thinking that like it's literally impossible for me to escape, versus like knowing there's a potential but then like not using it because it's literally like a for emergency situation. But I think there is a way to do it safer. I think obviously whenever you are being restrained in something or on something, especially for extended periods of time, alone, in a bed, you know, you are in a vulnerable position. That does increase the risk of a lot of things happening that has to be accounted for. But I don't think it's like impossibly risky where like you should never ever do it. I think probably, you know, being restrained to a bed is safer than being locked in a cage, for example. Like, it's a lot easier to get out and, you know, escape if you're being leashed to something or chained to something versus being inside of a whole ass entire cage. I think it's Alexa or Echo Dot, like one of those. There is now an emergency call function. And I recommend, if you want to do a lot of play with like heavier duty restraints, like sleep sacks, you know, staying in a cage overnight, being chained up overnight, you know, or if you want to do something at all where your partner is like leaving the room or something, I really recommend investing in one of those voice controlled little AI device, like little AI speakers. Because now, at least I think I don't remember which one, if it's Echo or Alexa, is one of those two. Now you can use those to call for help. I think that can either call a local emergency line. It can also call emergency contacts for you. So it contacts. So if you have like a safe call set up with somebody, somebody who has a key to your house, you can have them like be alerted. There's other apps and stuff you can use too on your phone for like emergency calls and like check-ins and things, but that's sort of, I'm not sure exactly which ones are like best for like this situation, but there are ways to kind of lessen the risk of like, only my partner had the key and then they fell down the stairs and couldn't get up, and then I'm trapped and locked to this bed, and now suddenly became the plot of a Stephen King book or whatever, like that is not something I would generally recommend getting into if at all possible, but I will present all these options to the man of the house after stream. Thank you all so much. Yeah. What if you roll off the bed and choke yourself? I mean, I guess I wasn't really thinking about being chained to a collar. When I've done it before, I've been chained by my wrists. So, or to ankles. Usually I've done ankles. I don't know if I mentioned a collar, if I don't know if I was specific about that, but generally speaking, I don't like, to avoid that exact problem. I mean, I don't know when the last time I rolled off a bed was by accident while I was sleeping. But I usually do ankles or wrists if I'm going to be restrained to something while I'm sleeping. You could do it around the collar if that's in your risk profile, but you could theoretically roll off the bed and like, yank on your neck, and your neck is less repairable than an ankle. So that is something to keep in mind there as well. For us, as long as it's not an emergency, I'm fine with the immersion. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, tamper stickers. Yes, thank you. Yeah, tamper stickers are also an option, too. We've incorporated bathroom control as a rule in the new contract revisions as an extension of that. Oh, sure, yeah. Mm-hmm. Thanks to the word immersion, I knew there was a way to describe the headspace, and I really like the idea of a seatbelt cutter. I'm not the biggest into bondage and discipline, but the safety would make it better for me. Yeah, definitely. The immersion of it is, that wasn't my word. I think it was Lexi that said immersion. But yes, lots of ways to do this in a safer way. Also just sleeping on the floor too. Like if you're worried about stuff, you can be chained to the bed and be sleeping on the floor next to your partner, or under the bed. Like you don't have to be on the bed and like in a position where you could roll off. You could also just sleep on the floor too. Because that, for a lot of people, adds another layer onto it of like humiliation and degradation, where it's like I'm being chained up and I'm treated like an animal and I can't even be on the bed because I'm so lowly. I have to sleep on the floor with a teeny weeny little blanket. So that also can not only enhance the headspace, it can also increase the level of safety and just eliminate maybe one of the risk factor there. So another thing to consider for sure. All right, so I'm my little angel little baby. Oh, look at you stretching. Oh, look at you stretching. Come here, baby. Come here, baby. Come on. What? That's not very effective at moving. That's not very effective, ma'am. You're trying to move with your head? Are you trying to move with your head? What? What are you doing? There you go. There you go. There you go. That was so funny. What were you doing? You were doing the worm. You were doing the worm. Oh, look at you. Look at you. Yes. And trying to move literally with your whole face. You were like, please come pet me. Please come pet me. I'm so desperate for love. I'm so desperate for love. Definitely get down with that. Sleeping in a sleep safer bed. Oh, is that like one of the ones where it's like for emergencies and it closes around you like a cage? Taco doing the worm. Yes, she is. I don't know if I've seen her do that before. She definitely gets a little wiggly. No, if you ever like made progress moving forward doing that before though. Normally you just roll around in the same spot until I come get ya. Boo boo doo boo 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 boo. Oh yeah, if you have tile floor, not very. I mean, sometimes it being uncomfortable is the point, right? I know. I captured you. I got you. I got you, and now I have to give you pets. Now I must give you the pets. Look at her. She's so sweet. You're so sweet. Look at you. You're so good. Okay. All right. I got to go. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me on this Friday night. Hopefully we gave everyone some fun ideas for various kink activities. We really went like across the whole spectrum here of kink stuff. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. Next Friday is the day after Thanksgiving, so I probably will not be streaming next Friday. I may be streaming. I just don't want to promise that I will be. I'm not 100% sure what my travel plans are going to be at this point. It may be that I'm here, it maybe won't be. Just if I'm going to be streaming, you'll see a notification for the stream. There'll be a preview up, so just look for that. I'm not like super active on Twitter, but like if there is a change to the stream times or something, I will usually post there about it. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm Evie Lupine over on Twitter, and thank you